Everybody take their seats, please. I'd like to welcome everybody here this morning to the Board of County Commissioners meeting for January 18, 2011. First item on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Borowski.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Support our troops. Amen.
Okay, we'll go to item number 2, action approval of the agenda for the Board of County Commissioners meeting for January 18, 2011.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We can strike item 3. Do we have any emergency items this morning?
Not that I'm aware of.
Hearing none, we can strike 7. Do we have any closed sessions this morning for labor negotiations? As far as I know, none. Any for legal issues?
No.
So we can strike 11A through F. Strike 13 through 16. 17 through 19, 21 and 22, 24, we want to pull item 25B as in boy, and also 25E as in Edward. Strike number 26 and 27, number 29, number 31, and we want to pull item 33C as in Charles. I've had a communication from Mercier and they wish to continue their lease as it is.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I want to address Mr. Kunze.
Yes.
Hey, Brian, did you get a message to Rick about 33A?
Yes, I did, and we resolved it this morning. I think we can go ahead and go forward with it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And I believe that's it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is there anything from the board? Is that consent? Not yet. Okay, we'll go to item number 5, announcements. Do we have any announcements?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go ahead.
There is no agency status report on this agenda. I am the culprit because I didn't get it in time to meet the deadline. There have been agency reports copied and put on the back table for anyone in the public who would like to look at it. There are a couple areas I'd like to cover, which is just updating since the last time you saw one of these. I think Commissioner Easley will probably talk about the last special meeting, but as a result of the actions that was taken by the Secretary of the Department of Interior, Secretary Salazar, his order number 3310, which dealt with the de facto wilderness, the Public Lands and Natural Resources Commission or Committee for Nevada's NACO also approved to send forward a request for another resolution to come out of NACO. And they also took the same action as we did during our special meeting. We are at a critical point right now within the county for having our comprehensive land use plan completed. during a tri-party agreement, or tri-party meeting just last week, I asked them specifically when they would need to see the county's comprehensive land use plan to incorporate that into their resource management plan. And they indicated that the sooner the better. I know that you're working on this very hard. I know you're working on this on a regular basis, Gary, but it is affecting several of the agencies that I am working with. And without that plan in place, by the time they are ready to look at it, they're not required to look at it if it isn't there. So if there's anything I can do to help with that process, I would like to move forward with that. The minor county road inventory that we're working on, I'll be coming through next week. I'll be with the Beatty Town Advisory Board, or the Beatty Board. I'm not sure if they're advisory or not, but I'll be in front of the Beatty Board to explain the process and to introduce our contractor to them so that people are looking out for her while she's out there picking up the information on these roads. We currently have 109 roads have gone through the system. 63 have gone through the process of being placed before the Board of Commissioners. There's 38 that have been recorded and given to the BLM and the Forest Service, as well as NDOT. 39 are waiting for me to process. I'm the bottleneck. There's 7 that we are holding back right now for a lack of documentation, existing right-of-ways with other government agencies or redundant access in close proximity, for a total of 350 miles so far. The final bill draft has gone before the Legislative Council. It's been reviewed by the DA's office, and it currently appears on the legislative action list, so we might get some momentum with that. And that makes my job, our job, easier. It isn't something that the general public could really be interested in, but it is making the job easier if it is passed by legislation.
Thank you. On the comprehensive plan.
Excuse me. I'm
sorry.
Yeah. Along with my meeting in Beatty on the 26th, and an opportunity to be before the Amargosa Town Board on the 27th, I'll be approaching the Pahrump Town Board as well for a little bit of time on their agenda so that I can give them the same information. On the 9th of February, the Forest Supervisors, District Ranger, the U.S. Forest Service GIS staff, and representatives from both Eureka and Lander County have all requested a meeting to see what Nye County is doing for their process. So we have put together a collaborative effort, and we're all going to be in the same place at the same time, and that's going to be a big boon, a big push forward for the project. The SLUPAC, State Land Use Policy Advisory Council, that I was appointed to last year sometime, the first meeting was to be held on the 14th, and that's been postponed one more time. I'm hurrying. Bear with me. Actually, I think I'm just about done. This report is pretty comprehensive, and it might spark some questions that I would love to hear. So if anybody gets an opportunity to pick up that report off of the table and read it at your leisure, feel free to give me a call and ask questions. During the tri-party meeting, we also discussed the Crescent Dunes and the feral horse gathers and the minor road inventory and some cemetery applications that we've put in that we're waiting for. The Tri-County Work Group, on the other hand, met on the 13th of January in Pioche, and there were no representatives there from NDOW or EPA. We're requesting that NDOW and the State Park Service and the EPA join us, and we have continued to make that request, and occasionally they're there, but they're not showing up. So I have asked that they make the request for their presence again. I don't know how to sweeten that pot, but we'll figure it out. There will be an action brought coming up. There may be a request coming up for a slot on the Board of Commissioners agenda for support of the oil and gas leases returning to a quarterly status. Rather, I guess what they're doing is they're moving them through. The state is required to do them on a quarterly basis, so they are rotating between the districts the BLM districts. And what happens is they end up having oil and gas leases once a year or a little bit longer. And that's a loose interpretation of the law from what I understand and from what I'm being told. So the Nevada Minerals Commission will be requesting us to help them in their pursuit of getting these oil and gas leases returned to a quarterly status. So you might be aware that that's coming forward. The first meeting of the White Pine Nye County RAC, the Secure Rural Schools Resource Advisory, met on the 11th in Tonopah. It was very well attended. We had our 15 members together, and the purpose of this group is to give guidance to the U.S. Forest Service on how they spend that Title II money that the counties have been putting into the pot for the last 3 or 4 years. If I understand correctly, Nevada is the first state.
Commissioner Eastley, can you hear us?
Yeah, too well. I was just asking Honey if she could turn down the volume.
Okay,
And we're taking care of that now.
How do you
Thank
like
you.
that, Lorena?
go ahead.
Turn down your...
Never
No,
fails.
no, no, it's everybody. It's not,
I know.
it's not just Lorinda.
Teasing,
His
teasing.
time out.
Sorry,
Okay.
I'll rein it in.
We're cracking windows up here.
At that first meeting, it was very well attended. There are 15 members on that RAC, and the purpose of that RAC is to guide the Forest Service in the projects that they can use that money for. If Nye County specifically has the bulk of that money in there, it's been accumulating for 3 or 4 years now. If that money is not used and dedicated to a project by September, then it has to be returned to the Treasury, never to be seen again. So we are actively seeking and encouraging every community to put forth any projects you can think of. You can access the information on this by going to the website. That's www.fs.fed.us/SRS, and that'll get you the information on the projects. The only requirement is they have to enhance the Forest Service or enhance access to the Forest Service. It'll give you the guidelines on the website. But I would encourage anybody who has any ideas for projects that we can use that money for to please bring them forward. We have a very short time to get that accomplished. The next meeting for that group is in March, and that'll be held in Eureka at the Opera House.
That's good. Yeah.
Eureka and Lander County have both asked if they could be included in our RAC, and I personally think that'd be a good idea.
Lorinda,
Yes, ma'am.
how much, what's the total pot of money in the RAC? And I'm assuming that the RAC is 2 counties right now, White Pine and Nye. What's in the bank for Nye County? What's there for White Pine?
Actually, the division on that I don't have. There's a total of 1.3 million in the entire pot, and Eureka and Lander have asked if they could be included, and they intend to. When this money becomes available, you have a choice to go between Title III and Title II, and we're only a
Yes.
RAC for Title II. Eureka and Lander would like to move their money into a Title II position so they can help, and those figures I don't have yet, Joni.
I have that.
Oh, you do
This
have
is
that?
Pam. 1.1 million of the money was contributed by Nye, and 0.2 was contributed by White Pine.
Okay,
Currently,
here's
yeah.
my concern about this, and I've already had this discussion with Pam. My concern is that if it's $1.3 million and 1.1 of that has been contributed by Nye County, and we have more than one county in the RAC, is it possible that our project money could be earmarked for other counties if we don't come up with projects?
Actually, Commissioner Eastley, that is one of the things that will be on our next agenda, is to determine how we're going to split up this money. Obviously, the other counties would like to just use the pot of money wherever in the Forest Service. Here in the southern part of Nye, you have a very little amount of Forest Service. I think one spot up around Charleston, Mount Charleston, or maybe I'm called the wrong way. Last Chance Range? Johnny, yes. So there's a very small amount of acreage here in the southern end, but if we can use that, we're going to have pull, basically, because number one, most of the money's been put in there by Nye. Here's what I'm afraid of. If we put restrictions on that so that 95% of it has to be spent in Nye, we won't have the projects that we need to get it spent on the Forest Service, on the public lands that benefit us all. and we'll end up returning it to the, return it to the Treasury. I have a real problem with returning money to the Treasury because we were not able to earmark all of it for NI.
Lorinda,
Yes.
will you provide, or maybe Pam already has this, a list of eligible project areas? I'm specifically interested in the Gabbs Pole Line Road.
Yes, yes. And if we
Is
could
that-
get something to push that forward, where that accesses U.S. Forest Service, that would
Yes.
be a wonderful project.
That project is being addressed and is being prepared for submittal.
Wonderful. Right
Okay,
now, the only
great.
thing that's been submitted is some improvements to certain cultural areas. It's one project, and it encompasses 3 areas, and one of those areas is the Toquima Caves, which is Nye County. No, it isn't. It's Lander.
No.
No, it's
Yeah, I
Nye.
was going to say Toquima Caves, that's on the other side. That's over the line.
It's
Yeah.
Pete's Summit. I think that's in Lander.
Yeah.
Right, and that
But
is
I
the
think
only project we have so far.
I think the Gabbs Pole Line Road project would be ideal, primarily because we're going to see a tremendous amount of activity in that area between the Liberty project. They're reopening that Molly mine and bringing the Solar Reserve project online.
That isn't-
road's.
Mr. Chairman, we need to be careful.
I know, I
We're
was
going
just-
beyond announcements
Yeah, we're-
now and starting to discuss.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Thank you, Brian.
I was just fixing
I get carried away. Pam, you can just make notes of everything I said.
The other note you could make is also the Ione Summit. Yeah. Thank you.
I think we're getting off the subject matter.
Yeah, we are. Thank you, Brian. He got that fishing hook out, and just reeled us back in.
And that is, with only one other tiny little announcement, the community of Gabbs needs to be recognized and given a pat on the back. In 2006, their water usage was over 7 million gallons a year. In 2010, those figures just came in, and they are nearly close to 3 million gallons less for that community. So with the efforts of Public Works and the efforts of the community, I think they need to be congratulated. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Boraski?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to invite everybody to a ribbon cutting ceremony at 12:15 today at 4760 South Pahrump Valley Boulevard. It is the artistic pet styling. The chamber has asked us to join them there and be part of that, and it extended to all the commissioners as well as all the public. So that would be on a corner of Pahrump Valley Boulevard and Gamebird Road, and is it at 12:15?
Okay, Commissioner Shinobin?
I have no announcements. I have plenty to say later, I'm sure.
Commissioner Eastley?
Just an apology. I'm sorry I couldn't be with everyone in Pahrump this morning. We had a slight advertising problem with the agenda, and staff asked if I would remain up here for the meeting so we have a presence in Tonopah.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go to item number 6. 3-minute time limit per person. Action will not be taken on matters considered during this period until specifically included on the agenda as an action item. And we have Mrs. Campbell. Mr. Campbell. And a Luz Stato. Mr. Campbell first.
My name's Heath Campbell, H-E-A-T-H, Campbell like the soup, C-A-M-P-B-E-L-L, and I'm representing Heath's Laugh Factory.
My name is Luis Posado, S-P-O-S-A-T-O. I'm one of the owners of the Stage Stop Casino, The Laugh Factory is a restaurant within the premises of the Stage Stop Casino. And we're both here to discuss the situation on Blagg Road, which I believe everybody is aware of. I'm going to turn to Mr. Campbell so he can talk a little bit about his business, or lack of.
Since the rains and everything, and I know it's a big issue with the road, business is drastically reduced. We were actually getting pretty excited because of the business. And then just before Christmas, there's been, it was kind of a plateau, and then it's really been declining immensely. So we're not looking to point fingers. We just need some kind of solution, and temporary fix would be A-okay with me. So.
Also on the gaming side, our gaming is down about 40 to 50%, and we could live with the short-term downturn. The economy has kicked our butts, needs to say, and I believe in competition. I would gladly spend $4 a day in advertising promotion to make $5 a day. But now there are roadblocks, in front of our place, just making it that more difficult. Don't feel sorry for me personally, but it's the employees who are the pulse of the operation. Their tips are down considerably, and typically, if they come to me with a problem, I want their feedback, so I want them to provide a solution to me. But in this particular case, I'm at a loss. I'm not quite sure what to do. I believe if you have cars drive up on the shoulders, you may be encroaching on personal property. There almost appears to be a veil of secrecy over this Blagg project. People don't want to talk, or maybe they're just afraid to talk. And like Mr. Campbell says, we're not here to point fingers. We're just hoping that you can show us the light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you.
Just to let you know, I have talked to the road department, and we are going to put something together, get some temporary access in and out of there. So we're not trying to let you down or anything like that. It's just, it's something that takes time, and we have to get all these different components put together. So we should be putting something forward at a meeting in the near future to possibly grab a little bit of road to get people in and out of there and stuff like that. So, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. That'd be great.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we'll go to item number 8, action. Commissioner managed comment. This item is limited to announcements, topics, issues proposed for future workshops, agendas. Commissioner Wickman.
Nothing.
Commissioner Boraski.
Nothing.
Commissioner Chenova.
I lined out a whole bunch last meeting, so I'll be quiet this time.
Commissioner Eastley.
I have nothing, thank you.
I have nothing myself, so we'll go to item 9, consent agenda items. These are items that staff has recommended for approval. The board reserves the right to move any consent agenda item to the regular segment of the agenda should issues arise and needs to be addressed. Mr. Shenhopen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to have item K pulled just for some clarification, probably.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve items 9B through J.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Wickman to approve item B through J. Second by Commissioner Boraski. Further discussion? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? And it passes 5-0. We'll go to item number 9K, action adoption of Nye County Resolution 2010-150, a resolution to create a fund entitled Nye County District Attorney's Bad Check Program, or Bad Check Program Fund. Mr. Shinola, what's your question?
The last time this fund was created, I know it did a lot of good, but then there was a lot of controversy towards the end here. And I didn't see in the backup some of the things that I was looking for, which is who's actually going to sign on the account? Is it going to be to the treasurer? Is it going to be just in the DA's office? I looked up the NRSs that were given. and says that the DA and Sheriff's Office would work together. Is that going to be the case? You want me to go one by one? Should I just spout them all out, and then you can summarize?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
may I address Commissioner Shinhofen?
yes.
That was part of the problem, Dan. The fund was never created. So there was the last time the fund was created, there was never a fund created.
Okay, we never created it as a board, but the DA did it on his own before,
Yes.
the former DA.
If
Fine.
I could address that real quickly, is that the whole purpose of this resolution is to allow the creation of an account within the county funds, which is where it should have been to start with. So this is really just to comply with the statutes, put everything in place so that we have the authority to have the funds done through the Treasury as they're required by law to do. And this just simply sets out the fact that it is a restricted fund. It is subject only to the authorization from the district attorney. There is nobody else who has any control over those funds but for the district attorney, and that's by statute. And so the resolution is really a very simple measure to just simply authorize the county to create the special accounting fund, as should have been done previously.
If I could just add one more thing. The previous program was run through a bank account, an offline bank account that wasn't part of the Treasury. This is a fund, not a bank account. This is a series of accounts within the Treasurer's umbrella of accounts.
Okay.
So it's not a bank account, all right?
That's
Will
what I have.
operate through.
It'll have a fund item.
That's what
yes,
I didn't
this
get
will be, this, and it will be self-supporting.
That's what I didn't get through
Yes.
the backup. That's what I didn't understand.
When
because
you hear the
some of
term fund put on this,
Yeah.
it means a separate, like 101 is the general fund. This would be a separate fund
Right.
that will operate on its own, not a bank account.
Okay.
Okay.
It wasn't clear. And there was a lot of questions I was asked by my constituents about it, and that's why I want to get it cleared up. I want it just, for myself, I guess. But, and then referring to Chapter 3, NRS Chapter 3.2, it has to do with bid contracts. Are we thinking of going out to have somebody else run this? Because I was confused by that NRS reference.
No, this is, that reference was simply, if we do have to purchase something, it could be a computer program or a piece of equipment.
Right.
This is just a recognition of the fact that all of the public purchasing laws also apply to this fund because
Also
it is public funds.
Very good. Okay, and as a fund, then, number 3, my other question, any deficit fund balances shall be remedied by the transfer from the Nye County General Fund. So it's just going to be another one of the county funds then. Is that correct, Pam?
Yes.
Okay.
And somebody has a lot of splaining to do if there's going to be a deficit in that fund.
That was my concern with
I agree completely, Commissioner Easley.
with us already saying we're going to back it if there's a deficit. That's what I was kind of concerned
And
with.
his name's not Ricky.
But thank you.
Yeah, right.
I didn't see, it wasn't that clear to me through the backup, and it wasn't clear to some of my constituents.
And this is not an acknowledgement that we intend to have a deficit fund balance. It's just an unfortunate if you do have that contingency, and it could be a cash flow issue or something of that nature, that the county has the capabilities of putting funds in there.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Boraski to approve 9K, second by Commissioner Shinhofen. Further discussion? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes 5-0. Okay, we'll go to item 11G, Action Commissioners Liaison Representatives. You got your pencils out, Commissioners? Nevada Association of Counties, NACO, will be Commissioner Easley and Wickman. Pahrump Regional Planning Commission, and one alternate will be Commissioner Boraski and Shinhofen. Nye County Parks and Recreations, Commissioner Easley, do we have that now, or is that still a?
Parks and Recreation?
Yes. Nye County Parks and Recreation Commission.
I didn't sign up for that one, but I'll be happy.
No, I mean,
ass-
is there such, do we have a rep?
Yes, the
We have
Parks
it.
and the Parks and Recreation Commission has been formed. If you will recall, during the last budget session, you preferred that it not be funded at the levels that it had been in prior years, that as individual projects were identified, that they would come forward on a
Okay.
one-by-one basis. So
Mr. Wickman, you
it's
had it
still in
last.
place.
You had it last year, I believe. Would you
Yes,
please take it this year?
I'd love to.
Economic Development Authority for Nye County will be Boraski and Shinhopin. Nevada Public Agency Insurance Pool will be Commissioner Eastley and Commissioner Hollis.
Gary, can I make a recommendation on that?
Yes.
I appreciate you stepping up as an alternate. I have found through my participation in the pool pact that the critical need for the alternate is with the comptroller. So if you could appoint Pam Webster as
Absolutely.
the alternate. Okay, thank you.
It'll be Commissioner Eastley and Pam Webster. I was
No
just
need to
going by
thank me,
prior
Pam.
years, Joni.
Yeah.
Okay, Regional Transportation Commission, RTC will be Commissioner Wickman and Shinhopin. Nuclear Waste will be Hollis and Eastley. Tri-County Working Group will be Eastley and Wickman. Tri-Party Formal Interaction Agreement Working Group will be Commissioner Eastley and Commissioner Wickman. Tri-Party Working Group, the southern part will be Hollis and Boraski. Capital Improvements Committee will be Commissioner Boraski. Four-County Regional Forum will be Commissioner Hollis. Nye County Jails Need Assessment Inspections, North and South, Commissioner Eastley. Local Emergency Planning Committee will be Commissioner Shinhopin. Nevada Business Service will be Commissioner Shinhopin. Southern Nevada Workforce Investment Board will be Commissioner Boraski. Public Utilities Commission will be Commissioner Shinhopin. Quad State County Government Coalition will be Commissioner Boraski and Shinhopin. Central Nevada Regional Water Authority is Commissioner Eastley and Commissioner Wickman. And number 20, legislative issues. Commissioner Eastley has always volunteered to take those on. So that's the positions for this year.
Mr. Chairman, can I just make one clarification for the record?
Sure.
Number 8, the Tri-County Working Group, if you could be sure to identify Commissioner Wickman as the lead on that, and I will be happy to be her alternate when she needs me.
Okay, that'll be Commissioner Wickman and Eastley then. Liz, you got that?
That's okay,
changes?
right, Lorinda?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, we will go to item 11H. Action, discussion, deliberation, and possible decision concerning a request to support the Nevada Rural Counties RSVP program incorporated to assist seniors in the community of Nye County in the amount of $7,071. Funding will be split between the following sources: Pahrump Senior Center, $2,500, Town of Pahrump, $2,700, and $1,871 from Nye County.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and may I also extend my personal thanks to you for appearing on my behalf in front of the Pahrump Town Board to ask for their assistance with this. I was called to a meeting in Carson City and couldn't be there, so I am most appreciative of you stepping up for me. As you will recall, several months ago, the RSVP representatives appeared before this board and asked for financial support with funding for their project year. I talked to Pam Webster, and we decided that maybe the best way to go would be to see if we could split the obligation for this funding among 3 entities: the town of Pahrump, the Pahrump Senior Center and the Nye County Board of Commissioners. The Pahrump Senior Center has agreed to come up with a third of the funding, and we're grateful for that, as has the Pahrump Town Board, and we're grateful for that. That leaves a third of the funding for Nye County, and it is we'll make a motion to approve that out of Fund 101.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Eastley to approve $7,071 funding for the Nevada Rural Counties RSVP program. Second by Commissioner Wickman. Further discussion?
Point of order.
Come to the mic.
Did somebody say point of order?
Yeah?
Yeah, somebody from the audience.
Push the button.
Push the button.
Push the button, George.
Oh, okay. You got it broke down here, but it doesn't look like it's thirds to me. It looks like the county is the one that's putting in the least amount of money. And the other two entities, I don't think can afford it as much as the county can. Thank you.
Not really a point of order.
May I offer a
I don't
point-
think it's a matter of point of order here. Pam?
The RSVP group that is requesting that serves primarily southern Nye County, not northern Nye County. The county supports the senior centers in Amargosa, Beatty, and Tonopah. And the Pahrump Senior Center is a separate entity, also funded by the county. The Pahrump Senior Center funded $2,500 last year from their budget. And so the split with the majority of the money coming from the south makes sense because the bulk of the people that are served by this program are in the south.
Do I have a motion on?
Motion and a second.
Who made the motion?
Easily.
I
Mr.
did.
Eastley made the motion. Who seconded it? Commissioner Wickman made the second. Further discussion? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Passes 5-0. Item 11H, or 11I, action, discussion, deliberation, and possible decision to adopt, amend, and adopt or reject Nye County Resolution Number 2011-06, a resolution adopting policy regarding open invocation before meetings of the Nye County Board of Commissioners. Is that your item?
That's my item, yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sure you've all had a chance to look it over, and I know there's some people, I think there's some people here who might want to comment on it. I propose a resolution to open meeting with prayers so that we can remember that we are not the final arbiters of our fate. I would also like to suggest, as this is not the resolution I turned in, but the DA had to do some work on it to make it passable. But I would like to suggest that we could add a whereas, probably the first whereas our national motto is "In God We Trust." And my justification for that is in 1956, the nation was suffering through the height of the Cold War. Partly in reaction to these factors, the 84th Congress passed a joint resolution to replace the existing motto with "In God We Trust." The President signed the resolution into law in 1956, July 30th. Change was partly motivated by a desire to differentiate between communism, which supports atheism. That's one little change I'd like to suggest to the resolution, and everything else has been set up so that it's very ecumenical. You can have a mullah come in and pray. We can have a rabbi come in and pray. We can have a shaman come in and pray, and we can also have a Christian minister come in and pray. I've been asked by a lot of my constituents about bringing this forward, and I've heard nobody yet tell me they don't support it from the general public. So I guess that's my introduction to it. Any questions from other board members? Or Gary, back to you.
Does the district attorney have any problem with that? We're,
No, I think as long as it's just a factual assertion that that is our national motto, and that is a correct factual statement, that would not be a problem adding that.
okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
may I also address the district attorney?
yes.
Mr. Kunze?
Yes, Commissioner.
What's your recommendation, what's the recommendation of council concerning adopting this resolution?
I know there was a lot of questions because we did draft a model resolution. And I do want everybody to understand that this is not a recommendation from the district attorney's office that you adopt it. These things are always, subject to legal challenge, and quite frankly, from a legal standpoint, there's really no reason why you have to have a policy. You can start the meeting, or before you start the meeting, you can have a moment of prayer, a moment of silence, in which you would ask anybody who did not wish to participate to, if they wanted to leave, they had an opportunity to do so. So it is not something that you have the capabilities of doing this without adopting a formal resolution or policy, if you choose to, but before you start the meeting, have something like this put into place. So I just don't want the commissioners to think that this is something that the DA's office is pushing or recommending, because there's a lot of different ways in which you can handle this issue to have a moment of prayer or a silence without going through a formal resolution or policy.
Mr. Chairman, I have one other
Yes.
question, if I may, and it's for our county clerk. Is Sam Merlino in Pahrump?
Yes, I am.
Sam, I was quite concerned about the policy regarding the opening invocations and the apparent burden that it places on the clerk's office. I just wanted to give you an opportunity to go on the record, if you so choose. If you don't have a problem with this, that's fine, but it really requires a lot from the clerk's office.
Thank you, Commissioner Eastley, and actually I was going to go on the record. I absolutely have no problem with this resolution. It's the board's desire, but I do have a problem with the policy. I think it is an administrative function, not the clerk's function, unfortunately. I am short of staff as it is. This does put a burden on my office that we just can't pick this up. And that's really all I have to say on the matter.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah, I was concerned about that when it came back to me, too. Wish we could have had that conversation sooner, because originally I had just asked for Commissioner Boraski and I, who had said he'd be willing to do it, is to make ourselves available and make the list up and make sure that everybody gets a fair shot. And the way it's written is very legalese and very lawyerly, that nobody more than twice in a year and everything else. And I'd be happy to, if that's going to be a problem for the board to pass this, then we could go back and try to rewrite that. But that was, again, something that I did not envision. All of the administrative.
Well, if I could address that, and what we did was, because again, as you can understand, this has been legally challenged. We're not creating the wheel here. And so we've examined all of the legal challenges that have been done to similar types of resolutions, and we tried to create what I would describe as a model resolution based upon those resolutions that have been successfully upheld in court. Because the last thing we want to do is create a resolution that's going to be, challenged as unconstitutional. And unfortunately, we didn't consider the fact that, when you look at a lot of different resolutions from across the country, they use different terminology. And unfortunately, I think when we put it together, we weren't really thinking of clerk as meaning Sam, because most places have, clerks of the board. And that was just our oversight in not doing that. What I would recommend, and what we could easily do, is just simply everywhere where it says clerk, we can just amend and substitute the town or the county manager in there, or language of that sort. I think we could easily deal with it in that way.
We can handle that for you. if you'd
Okay.
like.
Thank you.
Okay, then I would make, you had public comment on that, right?
We'll make the motion in a second.
Okay, I'd make a motion to amend as stated, with the reference to the clerk be made county manager, and that Mr. Shinhoffen Commissioner Shinhoffen had asked for another whereas put in there. Amend and adopt with that.
For clarification, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
what is the additional whereas? Can I have the specific language for that?
It's, whereas our national motto is, "In God We Trust."
And that will be inserted where?
Should probably be the
At the-
first,
at
very
the-
first.
Okay, thank you.
In God we trust. I'm sorry, in God we trust should be in quotations.
Yes, that's the way I have it written here too then. I'll second it.
I have a motion by Commissioner Boraski to amend and adopt with the changes stated by Commissioner Shinhoffen on inserting "In God We Trust" and the other amendment would be changing from the clerk to the county manager. Second by Commissioner Shinhoffen. Further discussion. I have Paul Cohen, Rabbi. Thank you, sir. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you all for being here. It's nice seeing all 5 of you together.
Well, there's 4 of us, and
I'm on TV.
the important one's on TV.
Well, my name is Rabbi Paul Cohen, C-O-H-E-N, and I'm the rabbi of Yakin Bracha Jewish Messianic Fellowship here in Pahrump. And I wanted to just come before you all to let you know how important I believe the invocations are to this government body. Invocations have been part of our government meetings and bodies since the creation of our nation. Goes back certainly not only since Washington, but even before Washington. And with some of the testing that's gone on in the Supreme Court over the issue of separation of church and state, it has always been upheld that invocations are correct, proper, and legal. And so I'm asking this body if it will vote yes on having this invocation policy set before the meetings. I certainly am willing to offer my services at this particular time, being both Jewish and Christian, since we're Messianic, and having a wife who's Protestant, and family members who are both Mormon and Catholic.
Well, you've covered all bases here.
You're ecumenical all by yourself.
Yeah. But in a more serious nature, I know that there's been some concern that it would end up being based more on a single or dual denominational or religious basis. And I know that's not the intent of this body or the gentleman who put forward this movement. I believe that it can be put together very easily as non-denominational and yet be very effective. A friend of mine was the chairman, not the chairman, the chaplain of the United States Senate and also the chaplain of the joint federal Congress. And he says that easily can be done and gave me a great number of opening invocations if necessary. So I would certainly believe it can be done and make most everybody happy. In any case, I want to thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have on that.
Tony wants to speak.
Chair?
I think it's a great opportunity for us to reflect personally on our God. The only problem I see with this is that if you have a follower of Anton LaVey, that, you know who Anton LaVey is, I guess not.
I do.
Okay. And that's the issue, that it just opens up the doors to other religious practices, which and beliefs which may not serve this community well. And Anton LaVey was a Satanist priest who believed in human sacrifice. So I'm just bringing those cautions out, but I think it's a great opportunity for us to reflect on our personal God. And it's something that we are also one nation under God. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Further discussion? I'm going to call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I have to be the sole dissenting vote on this. I heard very clearly from our counsel that he does not support adopting a resolution. In my 10 years on this board, I've never gone against what the advice that counsel gives us, and the only reason I want to make it clear, the only reason I'm voting against this is because counsel has advised that they do not support this resolution. I do, however, wholeheartedly support an invocation prior to the drop of the gavel, just not through the resolution process based on the recommendation of counsel. Thank you.
I'm confused.
I am too. I didn't hear that.
But
No,
It
that's, he
passed
said that
4-1.
clearly. I asked him if he supported, does council support adoption of this resolution, and I heard no.
we'll
Okay.
move on.
Thank you.
We'll take a 5-minute break, please.
Potty break.
Back in session of the Board of County Commissioners meeting. We'll go to our timed item. We'll go to our 10:15 item, recess to the Nye County Board of Road Commissioners. Commissioner Wickman.
Thank you, Chairman Hollis. I'll open this meeting for Tuesday, January 18th, 2011 for the Nye County Board of Road Commissioners. And our first action is approval of the minutes, which we don't have any, so we'll pass over that. Then we'll have our general public comment. Is there anyone who would like to make a 3-minute statement on anything that is not listed on the agenda? Do you have anyone up there, Commissioner Easley?
No, we sure don't.
Okay, we'll close that then. We'll move on to the next order of business, which is the general road report by the Public Works Director. And he is just coming back into the room, so.
That would be you, Mr. Fanning.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning. .45 time.
There's only one item that I actually have to report on and actually add up on. Commissioner Wickman's statement about GABs. The actual water usage in its entirety and what the town of Gabbs has actually improved to, it really needs to also go to the board as well. The board has been very instrumental in approving grants that have actually gotten water systems, sewage systems, along the way as well. And that also needs to be pointed out to this board. And the amount of water that we've had extreme water breaks everywhere in Gabbs. It's an old system, so we got trees growing in the system, sewer system, water system, everything. The amount of water that was actually saved from 2006 forward to present day, to the end of 2010, I apologize, was actually to the tune of that 76 million gallons. So that is actually where we're at with that. It is the community of Gabbs with actual current workers that they also have on staff. So that is the other plus side of that. So that is the most current update on that information.
Does anyone have any questions of the road report?
Commissioner Wickman?
Yes, ma'am.
Just one question for Dave, or I see Stretch in the audience here too. You all got your new garbage truck for Gabbs, and that's working out good? No more hauling full garbage trucks to Tonopah and, okay, great, thank you. Stretch just gave a thumbs up for the record.
Anyone else? Okay, Dave, on the third page of your road report, I just have a question, and it might be my ignorance. Where is Lone Summit? Is it possible that that's Ione?
I think that's
Ione Summit? Okay.
Yeah.
It's under the.
I apologize.
That's the only question I have.
An I for an L.
Yeah.
Apologize.
Commissioner Wickman, is that the 1045? Is that this backup, or is there other backup here?
No, the backup is labeled RC3.
RC3.
Road Commission number 3.
Oh, here it is, right here, all right. I was looking at the other multiple pages of.
Okay, if no one has any further questions of Mr. Fanning, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. I'll turn it over to you, Chairman Collis.
Thank you, Commissioner Wiggum. We'll go back to the Board of County Commissioners. We'll go to our 10:30 timed item, recess to the Nye County License and Liquor Board. Commissioner Boraski.
Thank you.
Welcome, Jeff.
I'd like to open this meeting in the Nye County Licensing and Liquor Board, January 18, 2011. Item 1, approval of minutes. We have none. Item 2, general public comment, 3-minute time limit per person, and requested to be limited to items not listed on the agenda. No action will be taken by the board. Any public comment in Pahrump? Any public comment in Tonopah? Hearing none, I'll close public comment. Consent agenda. Before we go to that, I'll make a small disclosure that I did go out and talk to the owner of the Bikinis Gentlemen Club, but it was just for informational purposes only, to go out and see myself what was going in there. And other than that, there was no, I'm sorry, there's no workers there at the time. I did not drink any alcohol, received any gifts, gratuities, favors, or...
Did I hear correctly?
And you didn't invite me?
No, I was curious to what was going in the building, so I stopped and asked one day, so...
Did you get a
Pardon me?
Never mind.
It could only devolve from there. It could only devolve.
One question will lead to a whole lot more.
Oh, come on now, it's all in fun.
Yes.
Consent agenda. Any items anybody would like to remove, anything? Item A?
I just have a procedural question, Commissioner Boraski,
Yes.
on item, the 72-hour permits.
Yes.
Since these are 72-hour permits, and I know how long 72 hours is it really necessary to approve one for April 1st and April 2nd? Wouldn't one on April 1st be sufficient if if the duration of the permit is for 72 hours.
Correct. That would be correct. Mhm.
Do you want to remove
It's
that?
not a big deal. I mean, it's 25 dates total. It's not going to make any difference if there are 24 dates. I was just curious about this one, because now with 72 hours, we're going to go from essentially April 1st, and then another one on April 2nd, which extends that 72-hour permit way past the 2nd.
Mr. Chairman?
You actually have a March 31st, too.
Yeah, right.
So you have 3 straight days.
Well, I don't know, maybe it's a April Fool's joke.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, that's a great point, Brian. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, I'm not sure.
Commissioner Boraski?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman? There was, I remember correctly, there's been concern before brought up about approving for the whole year and instead of approving quarterly. Are we just going to continue to do for the whole year? Are we ever going to look at doing quarterly approvals? I think
That would be up to legal to look at that. Actually, by the ordinance is that there is no limitation. We can actually 72-hour permit and extend them, for 2 years. I mean, there is no limitation on that. So, I mean, if that's something that the board wants to look at, we'll sit down with Marla and see about addressing some of the archaic ordinances we actually have under our liquor licensing and our brothel ordinances. And we've been, Mara's been looking at that, working with our staff, and I'm working with her to correct some of these issues. And thanks to DA's office, we're making some headroads in that. But under the current ordinance, Mr. Commissioner, is that we can actually approve these 2 years, 3 years in advance. There's no limitation to.
it was had been brought up before about possibly making it quarterly.
I brought that, just so we have more accountability, accounting purposes.
Right, that's what I was, so there's no concern with that.
Commissioner Eastley, you had a comment?
No, that's okay.
Make a motion to approve.
Chairman.
Still waiting for a motion, so.
I just,
Commissioner Shinhofen, I possibly caused that confusion for you because I asked about it last time.
yeah.
And it was the gaming that was restricted to 1 per quarter.
Right,
Yeah,
I understand. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve consent agenda items, which would be B, C, and D.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Shinhoff, second by Commissioner Wickman. Is there any further discussion?
We actually have one question from the Sheriff's Office. Well, first of all, everything met for approval, everything is a forensic audit and everything. The issue came up was we have 40 hours of time that the detective put actually into this, into his investigation. And we have that time. The only thing is we're looking for is what we're going to bill that individual at. We're going to bill him at the detective deputies' pay. Just the salary or salaries including benefits. So that's a question that we're going to need some clarification on from the board or from finance. But we have documented 40 hours of deputy time.
I think we're outside the scope of the agenda items, though, aren't we? So you'd probably be better off
I think you better bring that up separately.
Okay. Just bring it up.
Finance, yeah.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those
Yes, Mr. Chairman, my concern still stands about the span of and as Mr. Kunze rightfully pointed out, a 72-hour permit for March 31st, April 1st, and April 2nd. I would prefer that we issue one 72-hour permit that would cover all 3 dates rather than a separate one for April 2nd that will extend that 72-hour period by 72 hours.
I'll amend my second to Commissioner Shinhofen.
Well, I want to get an opinion on that.
No, you're right, Commissioner. And I was going to comment on that I thought that she was amending this into, rolling those into one permit.
My oversight, I did mean to, I understood that, your concern, and I meant to include that in my motion. And I will include that in my motion. And further, I would like to say, according to staff recommendation and Sheriff's Office recommendation, I would move to approve B, C, and D with a change from change to March 31st, striking April 1st and 2nd.
You get that, Sam?
And I'll amend my second.
Well, I have a motion by amended motion by Commissioner Shinhofen and an amended second by Commissioner Wickman. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 6-0. Tony, in the future, would you ask Kelly to not put brothel items on the consent agenda or brothel items on the consent agenda? I've asked for that before, but we've had a change of guard, and I don't believe they should go on the consent agenda in the future, okay?
Not a problem. Kelly's doing a fantastic job. She took over quite a bit of responsibility up there.
I realize that.
So I'll take care of it. I'll make sure, I'll look at that myself, and I appreciate it.
Only brothel items?
Well, brothel
Only
and
brothel.
liquor should be both,
Well, what about gaming?
and gaming, of course.
So you
You know,
don't
the
want a
only thing that
consent
should go on the
agenda then?
consent agenda would be 72-hour permits, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. And
Yeah,
that's
it's not
fine.
Callie doesn't put them on consent. Those decisions are made at the administrative level.
Well, okay, I'll find out who that is, and we'll get that corrected. Thank you.
Not a problem. Thank you so much, Commissioners.
We
Thank
have
you, Mr.
nothing
Chair.
for brothel, gaming, and liquor. Item 7?
Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, hang
Yes.
on. I have a question, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Is Mr. Brinkman in the audience?
Who? Yes. Yes, he is.
Could he approach the speaker's table, please? Good morning,
Would
Mr.
you-
Brink. It's Joni Eastley in Tonopah. Your establishment is in my district.
Yes,
And
Joni.
I just want to make sure that some questions that you had concerning advertising for your establishment came to me on your behalf through a third party. I just want to make sure that you consult with your private attorney to get your specific questions answered relative to advertising and what is permissible advertising under Nye County Code and state law and what is not permissible. So if you would clear up any confusion through your attorney, that would be terrific, and we'll all be happy.
I'll do that.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Item 7?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Wickman, a second by Commissioner Shinhoffen. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes 6-0, and we're done.
Are we back to board?
Back to you.
Okay. We have to say that. We'll go to our 10:45 a.m. item. Action, public hearing on results of Public Works identification and termination of improved roads and streets maintained by Nye County for the purpose of compliance with Nevada Revised Statute, Chapter 365550, Paragraph 8, with respect to the proceeds of taxes and levies pursuant to NRS 365180.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question on this item,
Okay?
and I'm not sure who can answer this. I'll throw it out there, and I don't know if it's a if it's a DA's question or if it's a Dave Fanning question, but I'm curious about this list. Does this list include all RS 2477 roads, or only those that were formally adopted as such through the resolution process?
Madam Commissioner, can I answer that? Joni?
I don't care. Yeah,
Okay,
that's fine.
minor county roads do not affect the maintained county road inventory at all. Minor county roads do not get road and fuel taxes, and they don't affect this report.
Okay, I understand that, but are there, I'm assuming that we do maintenance on some RS 2477 roads, is that not correct?
That is not correct. If there is maintenance done on a road, it then becomes a Title V easement and has nothing to do with the RS 2477 any longer.
Okay, gotcha. That answers my question. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, do you want to
Okay,
open the public hearing?
I'm gonna, say again?
I just wondered if you wanted to open the public hearing.
Yes, I'm at that right
You're
now.
fixing to do that.
I'm gonna open a public hearing on this item. Anybody wish to speak on this item? Don't be bashful. Does anybody wish to speak on this? I'll close the public hearing. Commissioners?
I don't believe we need action on this item. It only calls for a public hearing.
Okay. This is
1050.
Okay, we'll go to the 1050 timed item. Presentation of certificates and/or plaques for 16 employees honored for their years of service.
Down below. Hey, wait, Butch, you want to take my hand? He helped her down. How much you help me down?
Are you ready, Commissioner? Kay Floyd, 25 years. Rebecca Pierce, 20 years. Yeah, I was just in right there. Summer Daniker, 5 years. Timothy France, 5 years. Dee Gilpin, 5 years. James McCrae, 5 years. Yeah. Joseph Murphy, 5 years. Alexandra Powell, 5 years. Carol Roberts, 5 years. She's out sick today, so that's not yours. Gerald Smith, 5 years. Cecilia Thomas, 5 years. District Court. Shake their hands. Cheryl Beeman, 10 years. Thomas Marino, 10 years. Deborah Orick, 10 years. Scott Williams, 10 years. And Antonio Medina, 15 years.
Take that one as well. Thank you so much.
We're going to have to do something to make this more attractive so they show up.
I got more work.
Yeah.
You want me to help you there, Richard? Come on.
Very nice. Very nice. I was feeling left out. Next.
Okay, we go to 11J, action, discussion, deliberation, and possible decision to possibly revise the BOCC rules and procedures.
All right, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Somebody going to make a presentation on this, or should I just start asking questions?
This is probably Lorena's mine. I don't know how I got on this, but anyway, it's Commissioner Easley and me. There's some corrections that need to be made in here. Do you want to take the run with this, Commissioner Easley?
Yes, all of the track changes that you see in here are actually my comments, and I think they're pretty self-explanatory. There's, Mr. Kunze and I actually discussed portions of this document, and Brian, I don't know how you want to do this, or Mr. Chairman, I don't know how you want to do this. If you want to go through this page by page, if you want to take the time to do that, or if we simply want to send the recommendations to Lorena and have this come back one more time. It's up to you. This
Pleasure
could
of the
take
board.
a while.
Mr. Chairman, may I? I realize you have questions, Dan. I think this was very well put together, and I can understand all the tracking changes. They made sense to me. There are places in here, though, where questions are asked rather than corrections being made.
Yes.
Right. Those are my questions.
Yeah.
Well, I had comment on a,
Give us a page
I
number.
agree with everything that you have in here, that I realize it's been more than just your effort, it's been others. On 5.2.2.2, where it says this is why the board members shouldn't be exempt from submitting supporting information, here. So I didn't have too many comments on it. I think it's understandable and.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I don't, yeah, with some of the comments and suggestions, I don't believe it's really ready to be adopted this morning. I don't know if you want all my comments on the record or you want me to pass them to Lorena and then have them brought back.
Mr. Chairman, if I
Yes.
may make a suggestion, and that is rather than take time to do this morning, if the board members can do as I've done and just simply submit recommendations for changes to Lorena, and when we have a document that's more, I won't say in final form, but ready to come back to us again, let's do that.
Commissioner, if I may?
Yes.
The only concern I have is whether or not we're going to be piecemealing this from different commissioners with regards to suggestions they want to make, which then is building a consensus for the staff to put together the changes. I just have that fear that, let's say
Okay.
three of
It's
the
an
board.
OML issue.
Yeah, three of the board want to suggest a particular change. And so therefore the board is, or the staff is putting together the changes based upon a consensus of the board telling them here's how they want to change. And that's not being discussed in a public hearing or
Well, may
meeting.
I make a suggestion then? Why don't we make it more specific and Dan can give you his suggested questions and changes? And I'm sure Joni has had her hand in it all the way through, and the rest of us stay out of it until they bring it back.
Okay.
All right. Is that good? Shall I go ahead?
Yeah, I think as long as we're not having all five of you giving suggestions, it might create a consensus building
No.
informally.
All right, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, you and Commissioner Easley are going to,
Oh, all right. You don't want me to go through them here then? I thought you wanted me to say what they were.
Well-
No, just
No.
work with Lorena.
Okay, fine.
work with Lorena, and Joni has already done hers, and then,
Fine, because I've got probably 10, 11
okay.
items.
What my recommendation would be if Commissioner Shinhoffen and Commissioner Easley want to work and put these things together, that what we may find is there may be some suggestions, and the document that comes back may provide alternatives that the commissioners could then consider which one they would prefer if there is any disagreement on any of the specific proposals.
Well, my question is Mr. Shinhofen, is your questions on the changes in here, or, because the document, this is already a document.
No, I understand that. It's some of the wording changes, for instance, non-agendized, changing that to they are not on the agenda. Just seems to me non-agendized is a lot easier than using 6 words where you can use 1 word.
I don't know.
Those kind of things, and that's those are the changes I'm.
We always have difference in opinion as far as using 1 word or 2 words or anyway. You get your comments to Lorene, and we'll work it out.
Okay, thank you.
And Dan, I simply recommended that change because from I don't think that there is such a verb, agended. It's either on the agenda or it isn't on the agenda.
It should be non-agendized.
I can't even find that as a word, but yeah.
Okay.
So
it's
semantics, though.
My dictionary is kind of imaginary, so I'll find it and we'll pass it on. Well, I'll pass it on to Lorinda. She can do that.
Sure, you bet.
Otherwise it
and
could
then
take some
feel
time.
free if you have any specific questions about the changes I've recommended. I'd be more than happy to explain my rationale to you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
So do we need to do anything? Do we need to table this, or?
Staff will bring it back.
Okay.
We'll go to 12A, action, discussion, deliberation, and possible decision to appoint 2 members to the Belmont Town Advisory Board due to 2 expired terms.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Dana Holbrook and Janice Berard.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Wickman to appoint member Dana Holbrook and Janice
Berard.
Second by Commissioner Boraski. Further discussion? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? How'd you vote on that?
I voted aye.
Okay, 5-0. We'll go to item 23A, action, discussion, deliberation, possible decision to, 1, approve the establishment of a $200,000 contingency reserve for the Pahrump Jail project for value engineering phase of the project, and 2, to approve Pam Webster as owner representative for the project, with authority to approve changes to the park list pending BOCC approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Both 1 and 2?
Yes.
Yes.
I have a motion by Commissioner Eastly to approve both 1 and 2. Second by Commissioner Wickman. Further discussion? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passed 5-0. Okay, action 23B. Action, discussion, deliberation, and possible decision to enter into an agreement with American Express for use of county travel and purchasing cards.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
this item really goes hand in hand with the travel policy that is included in the personnel policies and procedures manual. So I would like to pull this until we actually move forward with that manual approval.
Oh, you mean trail it?
Yeah.
Yes.
You don't want to pull it. You want to trail it until after we adopt the, okay,
I feel quite sure that's
Oh.
what I said.
yeah.
Yeah, it was pulled.
But actually, we pulled the PPM,
Yeah,
right?
so I think we should
Yeah,
pull
so
this
this is
as
getting
well.
pulled also. Pam, I do have a question for you, however, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes.
Is this, will this cause any changes to the purchasing policy itself? We have
No.
a separate policy for,
I think, no, the purchasing policy just references that we will have purchasing cards available, not necessarily who they will be issued by.
and then my final question would be, if the board chooses at a later date to enter into this agreement with American Express, will it eliminate the need to chase down users
Yes.
for their receipts?
Each individual card carrier or person who does travel will receive their own statement and pay their own bill. It will no longer come through the county for processing. So it will encourage people to get their expense reports in a very timely manner so that they can be reimbursed and be ready to pay their travel bills when they come in.
Thank you.
Well, now that brings up another question then, because the only reason I went to a county credit card was so that I wouldn't have to pay the interest that was trailing from month to month. So is this going to be a situation from
No.
you turn in your...
Amex doesn't impose interest unless you're significantly late, like
So there you
multiple
have...
months. Yes, because a lot of the people that have Amex cards travel quite often and don't always get it done right away, but they don't allow it to sustain, for you to leave a running balance for any length of time, but they do give you consideration.
So there's like a normal 2-month process? This is what I was running into.
No, you don't get interest charges on your travel cards. That's why they're separated from purchasing cards.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we'll be bringing this back at a later date. We'll go to item 20A, County Manager's ongoing projects. I know he's got something.
Oh, here we go.
Well, I don't have any particular comments, other than you can see in the reports the things that are going on around the county. The fire station in Tonopah is moving along, and they're doing the interior now. And if you have any particular questions, I'll try to respond to those.
Okay.
Not this time.
We'll go to 25A, action, discussion, deliberation, and possible decision and direction to staff to authorize, 1, the reclassification of a vacant BG maintenance worker 2, NCEA grade 7, to a groundkeeper NCEA grade 2, and authorize the advertising to fill the position. The vacant position is currently budgeted under 101 general. The change will...
Mr. Chairman?
Yes?
Staff's recommendation is to authorize the advertising and filling of this position without limiting it to in-house. That would be my motion, to approve this without limiting the advertising.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Ishii to approve this item, and second by Commissioner Boraski. Further discussion? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Okay. We pulled 25B, right?
Yep.
We'll go to item C, action, discussion, deliberation, and possible decision to create and authorize the advertising and filling of 1 deputy district attorney's position, non-representative NCMEA, grade 21, step 8.
I guess I'm confused on this one because I thought we were going to wait until the end of this budget year to bring this back. I thought that's what I heard.
Actually, I
had
thought that
notes that we
too.
were going to wait a month, but
I
pending some
understood.
information that
That Pam was
that
gonna
Pam would have available.
We thought we would have better budgetary information from the state within 30 days. I did get, late last week, state proposals for reductions, but they're still not voted on and it's not finalized, so. And in addition to that, I don't have the, Department of Taxation numbers for, property value, assessed value changes and how that's going to impact our receipts for ad valorem. So, I'm really not ready to comment on the sustainability of the position yet. And I think it would be best to consider this when we're doing the budget actions.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I understood we were going to wait on this, and I did get my property tax, and it's lower, so I'm kind of wondering how that's going to affect the whole budget.
Well,
Your individual property taxes, how that's going to affect the whole budget?
No, I'm saying because mine are lower, I know everybody's are going to be lower. I just
Teasing you.
Yeah.
Well, I know that
Touche. Nicely done.
we did say 30 days.
Yes,
And
but I don't have the information I thought I would have.
Mr. District Attorney, we'll just have to wait, so, okay? I appreciate your sticking around. All right, we'll go to item G. Action, discussion, deliberation, possible decision, and direction to staff to approve the advertising and filling of a vacant bailiff position at Pahrump District Court.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Staff's recommendation is to allow recruitment without limiting applicants to in-house only, and that is my motion to move forward in that regard.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Eastley to approve, and that's in-house only?
No.
Or
Without
no,
limiting applicants to
without
in-house only.
limiting applicants to in-house holding. Second by Commissioner Boraski.
Yes.
Further discussion? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to item 30A. Action, discussion, deliberation, possible decision regarding a request to, number one, action to approve the expansion of the use of $6,000 that was originally budgeted by the board under Project PE 1016 on February 2nd, 2010 for permitting the recommendation of 3 exploratory wells sites in Gabbs to include water chemistry.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Have a motion by Commissioner Boraski to approve, second by Commissioner Wickman. Further discussion? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Passes 5-0. Number 2, action approval of transfer of $39,550 from Project CP 0742, Nye County GIS Phase 2, Fund 491, County Special Projects, which has been completed to the Project PE 1016 gap.
Motion to approve.
Second?
I have a motion by Commissioner Boraski to approve, second by Commissioner Wickman. Further discussion? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Item 33, action approval, condition upon the approval of item 2, the
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, I just want to correct for the record that this is not item 33, it's item 30A3.
Yes, this is 30A3.
A3. Yeah.
This is approval upon conditions upon approval of item 2, the attached change order 1 to Parsons Drilling contract on Project PE 1016.
Motion to approve.
Second?
I have a motion by Commissioner Boraski to approve, second by Commissioner Wickman. Further discussion? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Item number 4, 30A4. Action approval condition upon the approval of item 2, the attached change order 1 to the Day Engineering Professional Service Agreement.
Motion to approve?
Second.
I have a motion by to approve by Commissioner Wickman, second by Commissioner Boraski. Further discussion? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Okay, we'll go to item 32A. Action, discussion, deliberation, possible decision on placing an advisory question on the November 2012 general election, asking for the voters of the town of Pahrump whether they wish the town of Pahrump to incorporate.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I have a question for Mr. Kunze on this item.
yes.
Mr. Kunze?
Yes.
Does this board have the statutory authority to authorize the clerk to place an item on the ballot for the town of Pahrump relative to this issue?
We examined this, and my feeling is that the commissioners can put something on an advisory question if it's something that falls within their consideration. This board has no authority in which to deal with the incorporation issue. So therefore, there really isn't any statutory authority for you to put this on as an advisory question, from this board. Secondly, that I wanted to point out was when you look at the advisory question, there's a lot of materials that have to go into an advisory question. Part of it is, as an example, is preparing the statements that go with the question, including fiscal impact. And my question to the board would be, if you're going to be sponsoring this advisory question, who is going to be doing the studies and preparing questions and issues with regards to the financial impact of an incorporation? So I think there's a lot of practical issues that really makes this an issue that really isn't appropriate for action by this board.
So, Mr. Kunze, in the way of follow-up, would it not be more prudent for the Pahrump Town Board to approach the clerk's office directly and ask that an advisory question be placed?
Well, I've already gotten in trouble with issues regarding the town board, so I'm not going to presuppose or presumptuous to give advice to the town board. I'm not sure they really have that authority either, because they don't create the incorporation issue either. If people really want to have an advisory question, there's a referendum procedure and things of that nature. This is the way to handle this. But the town board doesn't have any greater authority to issue an advisory question than the Board of County Commissioners do.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any other questions, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Kunze, let me know if I'm straying here at all. But in regards to this, then, when you talked about they can the other procedures, they can get, if they get, I believe it's a little over 1,800 signatures on a petition, they can have it put on the ballot themselves. So if they get 1,800 people in favor of putting on a ballot, then that shows at least some support in the community.
That's correct.
So that might be the best way for them to go then, would be to get the petition and then approach clerk with the petition.
I agree.
Or they can put it on the 2012 ballot as without the advisory question hooked to it.
I thought Mr. Kunze was saying they didn't really have the authority to do that either. So.
And let me just I can read the statute to you that states that the governing body of a county may, at a general election, ask the advice of the registered voters within its jurisdiction on any question which it has under consideration. So again, you have to be asking something of the public that they're advising you to take action upon. And so therefore, you really can't ask an advisory question if there's nothing you can do with the information they give you. And so, like I say, for this board to be the one who is sponsoring this, it's in my opinion that it shouldn't be done.
Public comment.
I'm asking, we take no action then?
That's exactly correct.
Well, we have public comment. Daniel LeVar?
Hey, Dan.
State your name and spell your last name for the record.
First name is Daniel, last name's LeVar.
Can he turn on his mic?
He is now. So,
Okay.
wow, thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, first name's Dan, last name's LeVar, and what else did you need?
Spell it.
L-E, capital V as in Victor, A-R. Okay. You pretty much covered what I wanted to hear. I didn't know if this had to be a decision made by the county clerk or this commission. I attend a meeting on Fridays, and somebody passed around a petition for some of the folks to sign, and I can appreciate that. But what happens is you get these folks that sign that petition, and then somebody attaches 3 pages to it that they never see. And so what it sounds like here when you read it, it sounds like somebody's promoting incorporation and talking about all the services that they get up north in the county and what they don't get down here in Pahrump. I mean, I'm appalled at that kind of thing happening. You know, I would like to sit home in Crystal and say that's not my problem, that's yours. And my wife would like me to do that, Charlotte back here, but I'm not going to do that because I cannot see misleading people. It's just not fair to this county. The county has done a lot of work here. I have to go online. They give a list of things that certainly that hasn't happened here, that they think should happen here in the way of services. And yet I look around, I see a new county building, I see the Calvada Eye improved, I see the county courthouse improved, I see the sheriff's office improved, I see street improvements on a continual basis. And so I don't know, they don't want to see that. The local newspaper doesn't seem to want to see that. They never want to commend the county for what they're doing. And I just want to, does that bother you for me to share that with you at all?
No.
And on the issue of incorporation, I don't have a problem, wouldn't have a problem. I belonged for a long time to Citizens Against Incorporation, and we supported it. We defeated it twice. It was defeated once before we defeated it twice, and there was a lot of misinformation. We don't get our fair share, that type of thing, and to promote it. But I can tell you, I have no problem with them putting that on the agenda, anybody putting it on the agenda, incorporation issue, and to be voted on. But could you help me out? What's the difference between just flat putting it on in 2012, ask the people, do you want to incorporate flat, do you want to incorporate, or you don't want to incorporate? Okay, that's pretty fair, I think. But advisory questions seem to scare me just a little bit. I was advised by Mike McGinnis that if you can show in any way that the people are in favor by this petition, then he will most certainly introduce it before the legislature. And so I can understand why they want to do an advisory question, because it makes absolutely no sense to have an advisory question. Let's have an advisory question and then reintroduce it in 2012, or what are you trying to do? I get no explanation, but I depend upon your professionals, so I depend upon your help. Believe me, that way I won't stay up at night. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Who else? Captain Bill Beck. Bill Dolan.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bill Dolan, Town of Pahrump resident, landowner, and taxpayer. I see nothing more here than, once again, the Board of County Commissioners sidestepping what they don't want to deal with, and that is the will of the people. Failure to do this, Commissioner Shanhoffen is correct. The town can go out and spend the money, and it's slightly a few thousand more signatures than 1,800 to get this on the the referendum, or the only other alternative is to then go to a BDR through Senator McGinnis. Senator McGinnis has said he will not get involved in a war between the county and the town. The county residents have spoken. The town board has spoken. You're refusing to deal with it. There are ramifications. Thank
Mr.
you.
Dolan, I don't think you were listening to Mr. Coonsey.
Yes, I was,
You
ma'am.
beat me to it.
We don't have the statutory authority to do it. Do you, Mr. Chairman, can I ask
Yes.
Ms. Merlino, our clerk, do you remember, and I had it and I didn't write it down, it was 1,800 something.
1,840 signatures, that's 15% of the Pahrump residents who voted in the last general election.
It's not a few thousand
So
more.
it's
It's
15%.
1,840 signatures and it can be put on the ballot. And we don't have the statutory authority, according to our DA, to do this. So I don't understand the sidestep.
David Stevens?
You're on. Dave Stevens, Pahrump citizen. I hope I don't start hollering like I did the other night on this thing. I woke them all up around here. I can't get used to the microphone. Am I sound all right now?
Yep. Yes.
I'm here, first time I've been here since the last time I was here, and the same thing was the incorporation. Dolan said this for the people. It's not the people that wants it. It's the town board. They're not fair over there. Believe me, they're not fair. For instance, can I mention a couple things here? I don't want to start a war, Dave. Huh?
You must stay on the agenda item.
That's what this is, the agenda item. They're not fair, and I'll explain why they're not fair. They paid $39,000 to get the guy from California to come over here. I was begging them to get somebody from town here, somebody that had a little sense. They flashed a couple of pictures on the wall, and they closed the meeting up. We couldn't say anything. We couldn't make any comments at all. Then they got a guy that runs up all the way up to Hanapah. I would have followed him up there like a bird dog if I knew he was going up there. He don't know what he's doing. Then they got the other ones. The town manager, one of the members, and the town attorney went up and talked to Senator McGinnis about putting it on the, sponsoring a bill to put it in the state legislature without the town even voting on it to prove it. They've been very unfair here, this town board. The other town boards, they were fair about it. I was against it, but they were fair. I don't want to sound like a crybaby, but we got to get a little honesty there. And I try many a time. I've tried to get. So you've got to get along with the commissioners. You're not going to go any place in this town unless you get along with them. I'm not a very good talker, but I try to get to the point here. What's going on? There's got to be a little honesty in these people. They're not. They're not honest. I accuse them of that. I've told them that before on the town board. You talk to them, they say, well, one of them even got mad at me because I said, you've got to get along with the commissioners before we can do anything. I said, you don't swing a big stick here. It's the commissioners that do. I would like to see a little more honesty there. They're not even, it's hard to explain, they're not even educating the people. It's all their way. Like Dolan comes up here and says, the people want it. It's not the people, it's the town board that wants it. A lot of stuff going on over in that town board. I'm just tickled to death when I see one of them commissioners. I think Hollis was over there the last meeting. I don't know, am I right?
Yeah.
And that just tickles me when I see them guys over there, so they know what's going on around this town. Well, maybe I said too much here, I don't know. Huh? Anyway,
That's all right.
we're trying to get rid of the town manager there over this stuff. $23,500. I don't know what it was, $19,000 before that to keep that guy in there. They can come up here and talk. I'm not telling no lie, I'm telling the truth here.
Okay,
Okay,
thanks a lot, David.
okay, thank you.
Appreciate it.
You do? Thank you very much.
Come back again.
Come back again.
Can I come back?
Yeah.
Geez, I just love these seats here.
Comfy.
John Coney? Uh-oh.
I know trouble when I see it.
Good morning. John Koenig, Koenig, resident, taxpayer, concerned citizen, and all of the rest of the usual you-know-what. I really don't understand why we're here. We were told a couple months ago that if the town board voted to do it, it would happen. Now, here we are, again, putting it off. Believe me, I'm not for incorporation. I believe the majority of the residents will vote this down. I want that to happen once and for all. I want something in there to say, if they do vote it down, they can't bring it back for 10 or 20 years. But I understand the DA's point. Somehow, we have to figure out how to do this. We were told, Dolan came up here first and requested. He was told, take it back to the town board and have them vote on it. They did that. They voted unanimously to do it. What you're going to see now in the headlines of the newspaper is the county refuses to let us vote. Okay? That's what you're going to hear.
Yep.
Guaranteed. How do we do this? How do we get it on the ballot in 2011 so the residents of this town can vote it down?
John, I think the district attorney, Mr. Shanopin, has told you, do a referendum petition, get 1,840 signatures, and that makes us put it on the ballot.
No, that, you can take it to the ballot, but that doesn't
Without
have us make it.
Right. But it gets you to the ballot.
Fine. Again, we were told a few months ago to do what we did.
I
We did
believe
it.
what was said was that the town board could take it and put it on the general election. Isn't that what we told them?
Commissioner Hollis, I believe, I was at that meeting, and I believe that the instruction was that the board couldn't take any action on this item. The board, the Pahrump Town Board needed to go directly to the clerk's office.
Right, that was what was said. Mr. Dolan is shaking his head, but I believe that if you poll the minutes, it will bear that.
And today we're being told that the town can't take it directly to the clerk's office. We have to get a petition with 1,842 signatures on it.
Mr. Chairman, may I address Mr.
Yes.
Koenig, please? John, it's Commissioner Eastley in Tonopah. We didn't have the same DA then that we have now. In fact, the DA then never weighed in on this at all.
I agree, and I'm impressed by the DA we have now. I'm trying to figure out what we have to do to get this on the vote, on the ballot in 2012, without going round and round and doing something and then having to do something else. What do we have to do? Someone tell us, please.
Mr. Kunze, you're on the floor.
Well, it's not my position as district attorney to advise a group of what they have to do. But, there's processes that can be followed. The concern I have is that, this is being put on as a public petition for this board to do something that they really have no authority to do. And I understand the passion of the public, but this, advisory question doesn't solve anything anyway. That's part of the problem. The advisory question would just be what is the heartbeat of the county at that particular point in time. And it's very clear because when you do an advisory question, one of the statements that goes with the advisory question is a notification that says that this does not ensure that any action will be taken as a result of the advisory question. But again, there's no legal ability of this board to do anything with incorporation, so therefore it's nonsensical for this board to ask the public to tell us whether or not we should incorporate. Because again, they don't have the authority to do that. And so there's a lot of things to do. I mean, if people really want to do this issue, then my recommendation is you draft your city charter, you go through the process and put it on the ballot to approve whether or not people want want to incorporate. I think advisory questions really in this regards are really a monumental waste of time of everybody who's involved, because they do not accomplish anything.
Thank you.
This is Sam Merlino, and I think that's where the confusion lies, is that whether it's an advisory question or a plain yes or no question, they're two different things, basically. And the last 3 times this was on the ballot, it was a yes or no question, and it didn't pass. And so it's this advisory question that is hard to interpret, basically, and it's hard to figure out who needs to do it and that type of thing. And I think that's where the misunderstanding of all this is, who's told who what and what advice has been given. Advisory is totally different than a yes or no question.
Sam, do you recall how, this is Rick, how that was accomplished in the past? How did it get on the ballot?
You know, I really can't remember without researching whether it was done by the town board itself or whether it was done by the commissioners. I'd have to look. But it was definitely a yes or no question all 3 times.
I just thought maybe you might know, because I know that's what John's asking for here, is how can they get that on the ballot? And I thought maybe you might remember, because it was before I got here, so.
Some of it was before I got here. I'd really have to do the research to find out. And I will do that.
Would you? And then let me know, and John, I'll let you know.
Thank you, and I agree, it should not be an advisory question. Get it over with. Vote on it, either up or down, and it's done. And again, if they vote it down, it shouldn't come back for 10 or 20 years. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom Waters?
I was going to say good morning, but good afternoon, Commissioners. I agree with Mr. Koenig and what he said. We do need it on the ballot. We do need to find out exactly what the people think, and a yes or no is enough. Up or down is what we're looking for. The last time we had a vote on this was in the year 2000. And since then, we've doubled in eligible voters. So half the population did not have a chance to say yes or no. They do deserve that right. And whether it's up or down, I agree with him. It should not be back on the ballot. If it's yes, then we should look for it for incorporation. If it's no, we should leave it off until the voting population is doubled again. But at this time, it does need to be on the ballot in 2012 so the people have a chance to say yes or no. This is a big issue. It's going to keep on bothering us. We need to settle this for once and for all. On the ballot, 2012, yes or no. We don't need an advisory. We need a yes or no. We need to know what the people think. And I think the town board and other people, the commissioners, can then move forward and say, this is the will of the people. That's what we want. Thank you.
Can I, Tom, Mr. Chairman, can I ask Mr. Waters a question? You're familiar with the advisory board that the town put together to incorporate? They came back with a recommendation neither way, didn't they?
That's correct.
They never did
They were neutral on it. The town did a study, and then because that was complained against, people inside the town saying, or giving information. So that was complained against, so then the town went outside to get an outside view, and it came back with basically the same information. Again, it's not pro or con, it's just the information is basically, do you want it or don't you?
Thank you.
Thank you. So, what's the action? Or no action?
No action.
That's your decision.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to go against my attorney. That's kind of...
Mr. Dolan wants to speak in.
Turn your mic on.
Okay. Anybody wish to make a motion?
Should we just make a motion to say no, we can't do it?
If you don't
On
make a
advice of
motion-
the attorney,
if you
we're
don't
just going to
make-
let it die?
If you don't make a motion, it dies.
All right. On advice of the, all right.
Well, if I don't hear a motion, it dies without a motion. Okay, we'll be back at 1:30.
We've got like 2-3 items left.
Do what?
Gary,
Okay.
we have 3 items.
Yeah, we have a ribbon cutting that we have to be to.
Oh, I apologize. That's right. I forgot you said that. Thank you.
I don't know. Yeah. I wish I'd have known that last part.
Hi, Joni.
Hi, Gary. Sorry about that. I had this muted. I was working with Danelle.
Well, I thought you might have changed your looks because didn't look like you there.
My apologies. We were just engrossed in that policy manual, and I didn't see you had reconvened.
We're back to the Board of County Commissioners meeting. We'll go to 32B, action, discussion, and possible decision to adopt, amend, and adopt or reject Nye County Resolution 2010-152, a resolution directing the establishment of a amount of the Amargosa Town Advisory Board petty cash.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I have some questions for staff on this.
They're here.
Pam Webster?
Yes?
Don't they already have a petty cash, an approved petty cash amount? Is it $100?
150.
150. There was really no backup on this except for the resolution that asked for the increase. Could you provide me with maybe 24 months, 12 to 24 months of data that would support their request and prove their request for an increase of 200%?
We've only had one request for petty cash replenishment in the last 2 years. In November of '08 was the last one. For $654.
But was there any, is there a monthly report that showed what went in and what went out? That's what I'm talking about. If I could just have copies of those monthly reports so that we could examine the activity to determine whether or not this is a decision that we want to make.
There are no reports.
So there aren't any monthly records at all?
No.
Just a request for replenishment. Okay, so I guess my question about this then, if there's a lack of record keeping, is if you can't measure a process to begin with, how can you tell it's not functioning correctly? So I guess I would ask the district attorney for his opinion on this item, if he's there.
He's here.
You know, I would like to state that there's been some serious issues with the cash management at Amargosa Valley that we've been looking into. And I think one of the problems we have is that there hasn't been any proper accounting of cash receipts that are coming in. And I think that what we've determined really is a feeling that they want to be able to spend their cash as they see fit without any control through any auditing performed by the county. And I think there's a misunderstanding of what a petty cash fund is supposed to be. And you know, I think from a legality standpoint, we have major problems when you start having large cash transactions, particularly when you have no receipting for it, and that's what's caused a lot of the issues out there. And so again, from a legal standpoint, I would caution the commissioners to really establish too large of a petty cash fund. Because the liability that happens when you have these unaccounted for cash receipts just creates too many legal issues. And so I think, you know, the smaller amount that you have of cash, of petty cash, which is to just simply handle small emergencies, contingency types of transactions that are not supposed to be used for normal operating expenses, which was happening in Amargosa, that you really need to take that into consideration when you are establishing your petty cash limits.
And in addition to that, I think there's a situation here where we've got an operation that is used to dealing in cash advances as part of their normal operating protocol, instead of going within the system and utilizing a purchase order at the various vendors that they're using to purchase things for events and things like that. And there may just be an education process that needs to go on where we make sure they understand that when you have to buy supplies or food stuff for an event, you can still get it at Albertsons. The county can still give you, or Smith's, or where else can you get it? I don't want to give anybody a plug here, but that is the way we need to operate. Not I need to go and purchase bread for the event and I need $200 to go do that. You know, we set up a PO. The purchases that are authorized can be made, and they're done within the operating guidelines of the way we have our system set up to work. So I think if we learn that $150 now is not sufficient over the next year, 6 months to a year, for legitimate reasons, then I think that, you know, this should be reconsidered. But I agree with Mr. Kunze.
So then the recommendation of staff is not to adopt this ordinance, or this resolution.
Right.
So Pam, you also mentioned that part of this is an educational process. Are you and your staff going to be involved in providing that education?
Yes, we have been on an ongoing basis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioners?
Well,
I would say that based on the recommendation of staff, we take no action on this item.
Okay. Dead without a motion. Okay, we'll go to 33A. Action, discussion, deliberation, and possible decision and direction to staff concerning a request to approve a recommendation from the Nye County Water District Governing Board to revise Nye County Code, Section 16.28.170H1A. Mr. Lacy.
This is a recommendation from the Board of the Nye County Water District. They reviewed the existing ordinances at the request of planning staff, who identified inconsistencies between the way the current state water law was being dealt with, and that we were spending county funds on maintaining these water rights in Nye County's name when there was no benefit accruing to the county as part of this. When the law was, when this ordinance was first set up, the state water law was different than it is today, and this would make it consistent throughout the county on how these are dealt with. And when parceling is done, it would just relinquish the water rights directly to the state, take Nye County out of the loop.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I have a procedural question about this item. If I may address Mr. Kunze.
Yes.
Mr. Kunze, I called you yesterday and told you what my concern was about this item, that it's being recommended that we revise an ordinance outside the bill process. So I was wondering if maybe we might want to remove this from the agenda and bring it back as a bill with a recommendation to amend the current ordinance to provide for the new language. You said this morning when we were reviewing and approving the agenda that we could work through this afternoon. Can you explain how we can do that?
Certainly, Commissioner. This morning I spoke with staff about the issue because I had sent them an email last night indicating the concerns. And I think what staff indicated to me was that they understand that this has to be done through a bill. That I think what they want to see the commissioners take action on today is whether or not they are accepting the concept of making these changes. And if this is something that the board is willing to do, we would then go through the process of preparing the bill and submitting this as an amendment to the Nye County Code.
But wouldn't that be reaching a consensus on this item outside of the bill process and be a violation of the OML?
Well, this is just simply, at this stage, whether or not there's direction from the board, without getting into specifics on it, is whether or not you're going to pass the ordinance or not, just whether or not you even want this to proceed forward with the bill process.
I say we give direction to staff to bring a bill forward.
And if that's the action, that's an appropriate action.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
May I?
Sure.
I don't think this is actually directed at you, Darrell, but also one thing that I didn't notice was mentioned in here, not only because these are held the way they are and because of the inconsistencies, Nye County, taxpayers of Nye County are responsible for paying annual fees every year to keep this going.
That's correct.
Yes, okay. And I agree.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a recommendation to direct staff to prepare a bill for proposal at the next meeting.
Okay. Any objection?
None.
So be it.
Thank you.
Staff, you got it? Okay, we'll go to item B, action, discussion, deliberate, possible decision concerning a request to approve a GIS cooperation agreement between Nye County and the Board of Regents of Nevada Higher Education.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
The effective date of the cooperative agreement in the backup is the 23rd day of November. I just want to make sure if this board decides to move forward with this cooperative agreement, that this date is changed to today's date.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Eastley.
And I'll make a motion to approve it.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Eastley to approve, second by Commissioner Wickman. Further discussion?
Yeah, Suzel, you'll change that effective date if that motion passes?
Yes, we can do that.
You don't have to get
Okay,
real close.
There wasn't any reason why we would want to backdate that agreement, like there may have been some exchange of information that happened already.
No, what
We want to
happened
go
was,
back and capture.
what we had to do is, I had to send it all the way up to Reno, because that's where we work out of, and they had to sign it, and then it got back to me the end of December, and I tried to get it on the agenda as soon as possible, but they had already signed it, and effective of November, knowing that they had to wait until the board approved and signed it.
Okay, thank you.
And Susan, I can keep that last signature page if you just want to replace the top page with the new date in it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So I understand, the way I understand it, this data is not going to be given out to anybody else. It's for your use for salt cedars.
Yes, we will keep it. The only thing we're going to, as we go along and we record the information of where the salt cedar is, we're going to give the points to BLM, but they put it on their maps. We're not going to give them our maps. We're just going to use it to verify the information that we've gathered, so we make sure that we're not in the middle of a road.
Thank you.
Okay, further discussion? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you very much. We'll go to 33D, action, discussion, deliberation, and possible decision to set a date, time, and location for a public hearing to determine whether the best interests of the town of Pahrump are no longer served by the town board form of government pursuant to NRS 269.022. Or, place an advisory question on November 2012 general election asking the voters of the town of Pahrump to determine whether the best interests of the town of Pahrump are no longer served by the town board form of government pursuant to NRS 269.022.
Who was the Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Who was the contact on this item? It didn't have a sponsor.
Jonius is Rick. There actually was no single contact. It was a petition signed by, I believe, about 39 or 40 citizens from this area.
Thanks, Rick.
We got some comment on this. Would you like to hear it now? Dave Stevens. No cussing now.
Oh, there we go. I'm back again. I've been going to this town board pretty steady for the last 4.5 years. And I don't see where it's going anyplace. Really not. And I would like to see the county take it over. I don't pay any attention to you up there anyway. Maybe it's me, I don't know, but I don't think so most of the time. They've got an attitude there where they're just way ahead of anybody there. Well, we've been trying to fire that town manager, but it don't seem to be going anyplace. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that. I don't take it back, but.
Let's try to keep personalities out of it.
Okay, that's fine. I don't mean to be rude here like I am sometime down the town board.
Well,
You have to be that way.
I don't have
down
anything to do with the town board, but I do
there. I
here.
know, but you have to be that way down there with them people. They
Okay,
don't-
go ahead, but try to keep personalities out of it. and-
Okay, thank
and
you.
let's try to be
I will,
civil.
sir. I will.
Thank you.
I would like to see this town prosper, believe it or not. But they're not doing it with this, the way they're operating here, the way that town board is operating. I think I would like to put, I don't think, I would like to put it on the agenda and do away with this town board. With one exception, don't mess with the fire department. I like this fire department. They're all good, hard-working people, every one of them. I know them all. And maybe they are a little, I've heard a lot of talk about them. I didn't mean to get into any personalities here. But they're doing a good job, and the sheriff's doing a good job here. I got nothing against these people. I don't have anything against anybody, even the people on the town board. But like I say, I would like to see this town prosper. They're not doing it. They're not making any headway there. You go down there, 50 people can try to get up and say something. They told me I've been out of order a couple times. I really haven't. I don't do things like that, but it's hard for me to explain things. I'm not a good talker or anything. The only thing, have my time up, sir?
No, but I'd like you to stick to the item here is, why would you want to do away with the town board form of government?
Well, they're
That's what
not
we're
doing
talking
any
about.
good there. They're not making any headway. They haven't done anything here. They haven't
Okay.
done nothing.
Thank you.
Absolutely nothing.
Thank you very much, Dave.
Okay, thank you.
May I,
Yeah.
Mr. Stevens, before you leave the dais, can I ask a question?
You bet.
Are you encouraged by, you have a new board now that has only been seated for a month. Are you encouraged by that?
They don't encourage me at all. Believe me, I'm on my own here. I'm not encouraged by this board at all. They've all been, well, except when Lane was on there, she's pretty good. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel LeVar, and would Carolyn Endersby come up too? Mr. LeVar, you got the floor. First of all, is Mr. Beck here? Captain Beck, you wanted to speak on this issue? Mr. Dolan?
Mr. Dolan indicated he wouldn't be coming back.
Okay. Go right ahead.
Okay, somehow when I approached,
Back up a little bit.
somehow when I approached the board earlier, I managed to shove through both of those items at one time. I don't know how I got by with that, but I did. They were both on 32. And, but the comment would be the same, is that the petition was signed at the Breakfast Club meeting that's held every Friday at the Nugget Casino. That petition that was signed by those individuals, they did not read the attachment to it, as I explained before. There was 2 or 3 other pages attached to that they didn't have a chance to read. And I'm pretty sure if they were to read it, that they would not have signed that petition. I said before, I'm appalled at the fact that they added comments to that, several comments to that, to that paperwork that was attached, that was kind of talking about how things are going on in the Pahrump area, and then asking why so much is taking place up in Beatty, up in Tonopah. If you take a drive up in that area, you'll see all the improvements there, but there's no improvements. There hasn't been any improvements made in the Pahrump Valley itself. But we see improvements on a continual basis here. I can understand why some of these people, I can understand why some of them would like to dissolve the town board, but because of some of the actions. But I think maybe, like was just addressed by Lorinda over here, you'd give this new town board a chance to get some things done. I don't see a problem with that at all. But I do know that the taxpayers of this valley sent a clear message to Ms. Shoup and to Mr. Dolan that they didn't like their politics. And I can see that they did not even put Mr. Rust back on that board, who had served on the town board previously. But I say again, I have no problems whatsoever with the new town board members. And if they choose to reelect or continue the contract for the town manager, that'll pretty much tell us where they are, because he's, you know, I need to stick with the issue, I guess. I'm kind of getting a little off track here. But certainly, you can see what's happened with the town board through the election, and that sends everybody a clear message. Do I think they need to dissolve that board? No.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, may I again?
Yes.
Mr. LeVar, I don't know if I'm, LeVar?
Yeah.
Right. If I may be just missing it, but you're not one of the signers on the petition?
No.
Okay, so you're not representing those who have signed
No, I
the
am not.
petition?
That's just my own personal opinion.
Okay.
I attend
thank
the
you.
Breakfast Club meetings every Friday, and I kind of watch when things are going on, what's going on. And I make my own decision, they make their own decision. So.
Thank
you. All right.
Mr. LeVar?
Yes. Who am I
It's
speaking?
Commissioner Eastley. You don't live in Pahrump, do you?
No, I live in Crystal.
Okay. Thank
But I find that anything that takes place in this town affects our county. Eventually, it affects our county. Is that,
Right.
That's true.
That's true.
okay?
Thank you.
Is that it? Thank you.
Carolyn?
Yes. Good afternoon.
Is your,
Sorry. Good afternoon. Carolyn Endersby, Endersby. I'm a resident of Pahrump and here as a citizen. I would like to speak against the motion. In the most recent election, a plurality of voting residents decided to elect members of a town board that they see as worthy of their vote. I ask you to consider those voters' wishes and allow the new board the ability to do the people's business. It is important to remember that long history of service that the town boards of Pahrump have provided for its residents. A community has been built here in the Pahrump Valley through much hard work by many worthy, well-meaning citizens. Those founding citizens didn't work all those years to see their efforts be negated by factions who do not embrace a vision of a town of Pahrump that has the good of their community at heart. It is my opinion that in these times of economic stresses impacting our nation, our state, and the communities within our counties, that we as leaders do not act in any way that may cause more hardship for those families and businesses that call Pahrump and Nye County their home. These extraordinary times are important because this team effort in overcoming those forces that would wish to impose chaos and wrong thinking upon us as leaders. We must see this as a team working together on decisions that have been reached by public discourse and for the good of our community. This team effort is the only way to show anyone looking at Nye County and the communities within Nye County that this is the place that they want to put their business, raise their family, and bring jobs to the residents of Nye County. If we as leaders allow forces to divide us, to impose wrong thinking upon us, to advance private agendas, then we are not performing our ethical and moral civic duty. I introduced a motion that was passed at the last town board meeting to convene a joint workshop with the County Board of Commissioners and Pahrump Town Board. I welcome the opportunity to hear from this worthy body to join our town board members in planning for the future. So I thank you very much, and I do appreciate the efforts moving forward.
okay, first of all, your first comment, there is no motion. It's an agenda item.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm used to speaking to a motion
Yeah.
that was made, so I was.
there's no motion on the floor, so, but there is an agenda item, and I know what you were thinking about, but for the record, I wanted to make sure that there is no motion on the floor.
Thank you.
Mr. Chenoweth?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I might have said this sooner, I didn't, but I do think I need to disclose that I've been a member of this breakfast group for about 5 years now, and my name is not on the petition. But since this has been brought up, since the petition was turned in and then put on the agenda, I've had 11 people ask me where they could sign the petition. I've had nobody ask me not to move forward with it until Ms. Endersby, Mr. LeVar just said those are two, and I think the action number one, to set a date, time, and location for a public hearing to determine whether the best interests of the town board are no longer served by the town board form of government, might be our best option, because I don't see a lot of people here speaking either way. 40 people signed a petition, and I think maybe one showed up. I think there are concerns. I don't understand the comments of wrong thinking. I think if somebody thinks differently than you, it's not necessarily wrong. I'm not putting forward that we disband the town board. I have no problem with putting it on the agenda. I would have no problem with putting the last item on the agenda, except we had no statutory authority to do that, to put the incorporation on. And I would like to ask the DA to tell us, I mean, I've read the NRS myself, but it seems that we do have the authority to do this. If I might ask the DA through the chair.
Yes.
You certainly do. NRS 269.022 specifically indicates that the question of whether or not to disband the town form of government can be done by this board putting it on for a ballot question, which I think is what is covered by the first part of this agenda item, which is the A part. Given that, since the board has the ability or the power to make a determination in the best interest of keeping a town board form of government, I would make a practical observation that, again, by putting something on an advisory question on the 2012 ballot, when you have the specific power to put it on as a yes or no, really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You're delaying this another 2 years if you put this on as a advisory question.
But isn't that what the statute says, that we have to put it on as an advisory question?
No.
It doesn't?
No.
Oh, it says we can put it on as
It's
yes
an
or
up
no.
or down, yes or no vote.
Yeah.
With regards to whether or not you should cease functioning as a town board.
And then if the vote comes in the affirmative, then we could move forward to disband it.
Well, actually, if the vote comes in that it's against the town board of government, the statutes indicate that the town would cease to exist upon the completion of the last term of office.
Right, I understand that. And there's a lot of other information that, I don't know if I'd be going outside of the scope of this, and you stop me if I am, but there's other information to consider about what the town board costs, what the cost would be to the county. Would there be any savings to us one way or the other? There's a lot of those other issues why I would make a motion for number one, set a date, time, and location for a public hearing to determine whether the best interest of the town board, and I'd like to set it for 2 months from now. That'll give this current town board a few more meetings to see if the people who did sign this want to back off from their point of view. See if there has been a change. That's, so I need a date. If someone with a calendar can give me what we have in March, maybe for Pahrump meeting.
The 15th of March?
15th of March? Then that would be my motion for the March 15th Pahrump meeting, to set a date, time, and location for public hearing to determine the best interests of the town of Pahrump are no longer served by the town board form of government.
Time?
I'll second it.
Do you have a time?
Oh, time, yeah, I would like to have it as a timed agenda, 11 o'clock, if that's all right, if we can do that.
March?
That's when we have our
March 15th.
planning items.
Oh, that's correct, I'm sorry.
March 15th?
March 15th. You're correct, I'm sorry about that.
Can I make a small recommendation, Mr. Shinhofen? this is going to be such an emotionally volatile issue that I really believe you need to set an evening meeting, and it needs to be a special meeting.
Yeah.
Rather than holding it during a regularly scheduled Board of Commission meeting. That's just my opinion.
Do it on the 15th?
Or the 14th, we'd be.
You want to do it on the you would
Maybe
see the
night before.
14th?
Yeah.
Suggestion.
6 PM?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll amend my motion to March 14th at 6 PM.
Here?
Here, yes, please. Good chamber for it.
Can you second
Yep.
that? I have a motion by Commissioner Shinhoffen to set a date, time, and location of March 14th, 2011 at 6 PM on a public hearing to determine whether the best interests of the town of Pahrump are no longer served by the town board form of government pursuant to NRS 269.022. Second by Commissioner Boraski. Further discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
unless somebody, Lorinda, did you have something you wanted to say?
No.
Oh. I really don't support this at all, and I will tell you why. I have a couple of reasons. The first one is that I think it's fundamentally unfair to the new board. I think that the people of Pahrump, we do not give a lot of them enough credit. They absolutely saw what was going on in their own community, and they very decisively determined that they were going to oust the three incumbents who were up for re-election. There was no question about that. I think that the Pahrump voters, the Pahrump citizens are ready to embrace change, and they indicated that through their very decisive vote during the last general election. The other problem I have with this, and I would certainly welcome at any time if Mr. Kunze wanted to participate in this discussion, but I don't think that people realize what they're asking for here. I look at some of the signatures on the petition, and these are the same people who send me emails continually insisting that the county get out of the town's business. And what we would essentially be doing if we facilitated an end to the town board form of government as we know it in the town of Pahrump is for the Board of County Commissioners and for the county to take over essentially every single function in the town of Pahrump and place an advisory board, if we so choose to do that, in place of the elected board. And that doesn't say that the county is going to stay out of the town's business. What that says is the county is going to have its foot firmly in the middle of the town of Pahrump's business to the point where it won't be the town's business. It is going to fully be the county's business. And Mr. Kunze, if I've illustrated that incorrectly, I would appreciate being corrected.
No, you're absolutely correct.
And I would like to add to that, if I may. There was one concern about keeping the fire department out of this. There's no way to separate the fire department from this talk.
Right, Mr. Chairman.
You cannot have it both ways.
You cannot have it both ways.
You're going to either leave the town board form of government where it is, which means that the Pahrump voters absolutely have a say through the election process who represents them, or you are going to have a town board that is appointed by the Board of Commissioners, and as you just saw with what happened with the town of Amargosa's petty cash fund, the county will be controlling every administrative and financial transaction of that town, every one. And like I said, I'm frankly very surprised at some of the folks who signed this petition. I really believe that people do not know what they're asking for here, and you should be careful what you wish for in this regard, lest you get it. So the only way that I could possibly support this public hearing, no, I'm not even going to temper that remark with some set of conditions. I do not support this because I think generally people are frustrated and they do not understand what they're demanding here.
Right.
But they have their foot on the right path with voting out the people they weren't happy with. I'm finished. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I think for exactly those reasons that is why I want this hearing, so that everybody can fully understand what they're asking for. So we can really look at all the options and see what we're asking for. Yes, the voters voted on a town board. They also voted on county commissioners, and we represent them also. So they're not going to be left unrepresented. They'll have they have representation through us. So my idea in this motion is so that we can air out all of those things. Everybody can have a clear understanding what they're asking for. I think if we stop it right here, you're still going to have a group of people jumping up and down. And we all know that sometimes when you vote for change, the change you get isn't the change you were hoping for. So that's why we give it a couple months, and then we have a hearing and let everybody then see all the sides, see what they're really asking for. And that was my motion, and Mr. Boraski seconded it.
Mr. Gentleman, I believe in, public hearings is exactly what a public hearing's for. It's for us to get the input from the town and to tell us what they think. I think the public hearing will do that. Either one way or the other, we're going to get the right information for us to do the right thing. I'm not afraid of public hearings. I think it's a good way to find out what your citizens want. So I'm going to support them myself.
Why don't you call for the vote? You have a motion and a second.
Further discussion?
Take any more public comment?
No. Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Eastleigh votes no for the reasons I've stated before.
And I understand your reasons, Commissioner Eastleigh. Passes 4-1. Okay, we'll go to item 34.
General public comment.
General public comment. Be the second one. No. Announcements. I don't have any forms.
Can I make an announcement?
Yes.
We have, we're putting together the Acoustic Grass Music Festival again for this year at the VFW Hall. Will be April 8th, 9th, and 10th. That's all the information I have right now. Anybody interested in participating and being a vendor or anything else, just get in touch with me or get in touch with the VFW. And again, all proceeds will go to the VFW. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to our timed item, 11 a.m. Number one, ex parte communications, conflict of interest, disclosure statements. Commissioners, anybody have any conflict of interest?
Nope.
No.
Okay. We'll go to item 2, action, public hearing, discussion, deliberation, possible decision on a request for approval of the following planning and zoning matters. This would be appeal of the Regional Planning District's decision, AP 10-0004. Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, this cannot be considered at this meeting. Technically, this meeting is being held in Tonopah.
Right, okay.
So this first matter, since it is a planning issue, has to be rescheduled for a prompt meeting.
Can we have discussion or anything?
Well, this
Can
was
you do
supposed to be
that?
a prompt meeting.
It was, but it is not.
You are all figments of my imagination.
Yeah.
here in
I am
Tonopah.
sitting right there by Commissioner Eastman.
I know that.
I had a piece of rare chicken and.
Okay.
No, we voted to have the meeting here.
But it wasn't advertised.
It wasn't advertised according to the
That's why I'm up
statute
here.
that was required.
Up there.
Yeah,
I understand.
That's why I'm up
I
here.
understand. I'm not,
It's a procedural.
yeah.
But
Snafu.
But I thought, we just received a communication from Lorena prior to the lunch break that she might have been incorrect in some of her input. Or, honey, do you want to go on the record or read the email or? Oh. And just identify yourself for the record.
Honey Strozzi, STROCCI. I was under the impression that she had read the NRS, and apparently she stated that you could.
No, unfortunately, the NRS says you may take action on any matter except zoning or planning matters which relate to a different geographical area. So because this meeting is in Tonopah, this meeting is centered in Tonopah, you can take action on any matter except a zoning or planning matter which is different than the geographical area being Tonopah. So Pahrump is a different geographical area than Tonopah, so therefore you can't take action on a planning and zoning matter.
Mr. Chairman, if I might.
Yes.
Well, that's my question. If we're not taking action, if people have come to speak on the item anyway, can we hear them speak? We're not taking action.
Was the, I guess the question would be, was the public hearing advertised? If the public hearing was advertised, I would assume, and Mr. Kunze would have the ultimate say on this, that we can open up public hearing. We are just barred from making a decision.
That's what I understood.
And I'm sure
Take
that,
action.
that planning did do the advertising on this, Joni, you're correct.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we did do the public notice, and it was noticed for Pahrump. I think it was just the agenda, the BOCC agenda says Tonopah.
Yeah, you could do the public hearing, but you cannot take final action on this item.
That's my point.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Brian, the conversation that we had yesterday afternoon about the offer of dedication, has your opinion changed on that?
My opinion has not changed. The easement dedication review is not a planning and zoning issue.
Okay, so we can move
You
forward
can take
on that,
final
just not
action.
on the appeal.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this matter of AP 10-0004? I'm open for public hearing. Anybody? I'll close the public hearing. Okay, do you want to renotice this up, Steve?
Yes, we'll do that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, consent agenda,
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I apologize. I do have what I think is a pretty pertinent question on this, and Steve, if you could help me with this. Is there a time limit on appeals? If we have to put this on another agenda for February, does the time limit for the appeal of the item expire?
No, I don't believe so. There is a time limit, but they've already met that limit. I mean, they've already submitted their appeal within the required time frame.
Okay, so it's just that the clock starts ticking on the submittal of the appeal,
Right.
not on the, okay.
It's from the date of the RPC action. They have 30 days to appeal.
Are we required? Are we on some sort of a time schedule?
I don't believe so.
I believe so, but I think that I'm not really sure if.
Well, we better check.
We can't take any action today anyway, so.
I would suggest if we are up against some sort of a time frame, we may want to have a special meeting
Okay,
to get this
we
out.
will look at that.
Yeah.
Mr.
Well,
Chairman. I'm sorry. Okay. I understood that Public Works doesn't have a problem with this anymore. Is that true?
Yes, that's correct. And I was going to go into that, but I don't, I can still do that if that would be appropriate.
No sense in going through it twice.
It's not going to come back, basically. Okay. It's a done deal.
All right. We'll go to the consent agenda, action approval of the following planning and zoning matters consent. Offer of
Motion to approve consent.
Second.
Beat me to it.
Have a motion by Commissioner Eastley to approve consent, second by Commissioner Wickman. Further discussion? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes 5-0. Okay, Commissioners, do we have anything else on the agenda?
Motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Shinhopin to adjourn, second by Commissioner Wickman. Further discussion? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody, any opposed?
Aye.
4-1. Commissioner Boraski votes,
He wants to stay.
Hey, he's going to stay here.
Enjoy yourself, Butch. See you later.
you didn't, I'll let you vote no. It's
Enjoy yourself, Butch. We're leaving.